everyone, I'm Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and today I'm going to do a bracelet featuring a lot of our exclusive products, both the round duo, the round trio, and then our Potomac crystals. If you need any of the materials to do this bracelet, go ahead and look on the left-hand side here. We'll do a little drop-down menu for you, and you can click on that. If you happen to be on a mobile device or you happen to be on an iPad, sometimes they won't come up. Underneath the video, there's a little description box of the video. If you click at the bottom there, there's a little down arrow. Click there and it'll give you links to all the different products if you need them. For the bracelet that we'll be doing, again, we're using the round duos and the round trios in the middle. For the round trios here, I have the matted brown here for the round duos on my example. What we're going to make together, I'm going to use the round duo in the jet red luster. The round trio here, I have that pastel Bordeaux, that really pretty purple color, and I'm switching it up to the zinc iris. Along with the round duos and the round trios, we also have Potomac crystal rondelles. The rondelles here are our smaller rondelles. They are the 2 by 3 millimeter rondelles, and I'm using those in the jet hematite color. Here I use them in metallic purple to really make that, that pastel Bordeaux pop. So I really liked this color, but I'm going to play around with some different colors too. Getting into the holiday season, I thought I'd do green as well. When you're looking at it also, you see a lot of seed beads and kind of a lot of decoration going on with the seed beads. We're using both 15-0s and 11-0s in this project. Here I have the champagne and the light bronze, champagne in the 11-0 and the light bronze in the 15. I'm going to be using actually a color in the 11-0, the Duracoat galvanized sea green right here. And then in the 15-0, I'm using the Duracoat galvanized light smoky pewter. And these are both Miyuki seed beads that I'm going to be working with. And I use Miyuki here also on the example. To close off the bracelet, I have some cup buttons sitting here. This is the Crystal Full Lab, since I'm going with a kind of silver theme here. And we're going to be able to get started once you have 2 needles. You can use size 10s or size 12s. It's up to you, but it is a 2-needle project, so you want to have 2 needles ready to go. To hold the project together, I am going to be using some white wildfire thread. I could use green too with my colors if you wanted to do that, and use the green color, green, white, gray, any of the colors really kind of would work with what you're doing. So I have the white handy here, so I'm just going to use the white thread. In addition to that, I have a nice workable surface. If you have a bead on it board or a bead mat, that's great to work with. And then I also have near me a wildfire cord cutter or a thread burner, and that's going to be used to burn the thread ends. I have some super new glue if you want to glue down your knots. And then I always like to have handy also a pair of pliers. That's going to be used to flatten out the end of the thread. And that way when you flatten out the end of the thread, you're going to make it easier for you to actually thread your needles. To get started, I want about 5 feet of beading thread on my needles, so 1 needle on each end of 5 feet of thread. We are going to be using our 11-0s, our 15-0s, and our round duos to get started. So to get started, we have our 2 needles on our 5 feet of thread, and I have my cup buttons sitting here. I'm going to add 3 11-0 seed beads onto my right needle and let them drop down to the base of my 2 pieces of thread there on the side. I'm also going to put on my cup button, 1 needle going through one hole, 1 needle going through the other, and let that drop down as well. We're just going to put those green seed beads right there in the middle of that cup button. Coming out of the back of the cup button, add 3 of your sea green on the right needle and 3 of that 11-0 on the left needle, and let those drop down to the very end here. Once they drop down to the end, we're actually going to go in and put in the starting of our round duo. To put in our round duo, the pattern is going to be the same. The first round duo we have, we're going to take 1 needle from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, and the next needle from the left to the right, crisscrossing our threads through the middle of that same hole of that round duo bead. Give a nice tight pull, and that round duo bead is going to sit right on top of those seed beads. When you're on the side of the round duo bead, you want to pick up 3 15-0s, and the needle that's on the right-hand side will go through the second hole of that round duo bead from the right to the left. The needle that's on the left-hand side will also pick up 3 and go from the left to the right. Generally speaking, when you're working with 2 needles, whatever you do on the right needle, you will also do with your left needle. Give a nice tight pull, and that's going to pull those 15-0s in nice and close there. And then we're going to start with our side patterns. On the side pattern, it's going to start here. You can see the start of it. It's going to start with the same pattern kind of going throughout. If I flip it over around the back here, you can see it even better, kind of that crisscrossing. After the round duo here, we're going to add an 11-0 seed bead, one of our 2x3 rondelles, a 15-0 seed bead, and then another round trio bead. Repeat that the opposite direction, adding a 15, a rondelle, and an 11-0, and let that drop down next to your project. Kind of poke that needle in and pick up your other needle on the opposite side. Same deal, 11, crystal, 15, round duo, 15, crystal, 11. So that's always going to be on the side of your project, both the right side and the left side. So when you see the example here, they're going to sit to the top and the bottom, or if you look, the right and the left. To bring the beads back to center, we're going to grab another round duo bead, and we're going to repeat that starter bead. We're going to go through the first hole, one needle going from right to left, and the other needle from left to right. Let that all drop down, and that's going to create a little opening or an open that we're going to fill in and kind of pull together with our round trio as we come back down the project. On the sides of the round duo, 3 15-0s go on your needle, and then you're going to take your needle from one hole to the other hole, which is going to put those little beads on the side almost like a little picot trim. Pick up the other needle, 3 beads go on, go from one side to the other side, going from the bottom hole towards the top hole, and pull nice and tight. After that round duo is on, we continue on the sides again with that same pattern using the crystal and the 11-0s. So right after the round duo in the center, 11-0, crystal, 15, another round duo, and then repeat backwards. 15, crystal, 11-0. This will go on both the right-hand side and the left-hand side. And then we're going to work on crossing through our next round duo. So you're almost creating little boxes that we're going to then fill in with our round trio bead. After you have them on both sides, one needle on the round trio goes from right to left, the other from left to right through that same hole of the round trio, and pull it down next to your project. Once that opening is done, add 3 15s to either side and crisscross the needles through the second hole of the round duo. You can see once it gets going that it doesn't really shrink up. It just looks more of a side-by-side look once you get the round trio in. So you're going to continue with the same stitch, going and adding the length the whole way till the end of your project. So I'm done going through and adding my round duos here and my crystals in that little kind of open diamond pattern. And I ended up with, for a 7 1/4 wrist, ended up with 9 of my little diamonds here. As you're coming out the very end of your round duo bead here, we're going to go ahead and make a loop for our cut button to sit in. I have my threads on the right and the left side, just as if I was going and continuing my design. and I'm going to make my loop with some 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to start right after the round duo. If you need it to be a little bit longer, you can also add a couple seed beads and make a V pattern. I'm just going to go right in and do my loop. I'm going to go ahead and add a bunch of my 11-0s, and you can see I'm just working with one needle right now. So I'm not going to worry about the other needle to start. I'm just going to worry about creating my loop. Once you have your beads on your loop, then we get to pick up the second needle and thread. If you are using a clasp, you could put on a wire protector or your clasp right now as well. Usually I'll come out of the beads with 2 11-0 seed beads or 3 in order to put on my clasp. Once I have my loop made, the needle here that is on the right hand side, I'm going to go through that round duo from the left side back to the right side, creating a loop. Give a nice tight pull. The needle that's on the left now is going to go through that entire loop again, which is going to reinforce that whole loop. If you want to, you can wait until the next time around to reinforce the loop. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and do it. We still have one more opportunity to reinforce it because we're going to go back down the project towards our cut button, and then we're going to come back up the project towards the loop. Go ahead and put your threads through all those seed beads. And then I'm going to take the needle and thread through that last hole of the round duo bead to the opposite side. Give a nice tight pull, get rid of all your thread and all of your thread around your project. It's now time to put away the round duo beads and get out the round trio beads. We're going to be adding the round trio beads here, and the round trios are going to sit in between these round duos. We're actually not going to be attaching to this outer hole of the round duo at all until our next pass back up. To start, I want to get my thread and needles on both the right and the left-hand side through all the seed beads along the side here. And then through my round trio bead, crisscrossing to the other side, because I'm basically retracing my thread steps through the 11-0 and out the crystal. So the right needle now is through the left crystal. The left needle is going to come down those seed beads along the side, just like I did with the other one. And we're going to be repeating this step constantly. So you're going to constantly come down those seed beads on the side, through the round duo bead, and not through the seed beads on the other side, just through the round duo. When you come out the round duo as well, you could be thinking, well, I can just skip the seed beads and go right through the round duo. You could, but then you will see some thread along the side of the round duo. So that's up to you. It's a little bit less work, but you will see thread. Go through the 11-0 and the crystal and come out your crystal. When I'm coming out the crystal, we're going to add our round trio bead here, crisscrossing through just like we did the disc or the round duo. The round trio has 3 holes. However, we're actually only going to be using 2 holes. So I know it's kind of a killer to some of you guys, but we are going to be skipping the inner hole. So we're just going to go from the front and the back hole. To start out, we're going to add a 15-0 seed bead onto our needle. Take one of the round trios and sew your needle, your right-hand needle, from right to left, and add a 15-0 on after. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the needle on the left-hand side here, and for the needle on the left-hand side, we're going to do the same thing. What I want to do, though, is sew through that 15-0, sew through the round trio, and have my needle come out right after the round trio. That's going to pull the round trio, so it's sitting right there in the middle. The needle that was on the left here that we used to add that 15-0, we're actually going to bring back out right around the round trio. So our needle and thread is coming out that first hole of the round trio. One is going to be on the left-hand side, and one is going to be on the right-hand side. To advance from the back hole then to the front hole, we're going to pick up 3 of our 11 O's. So on the sides of the round duos, we picked up 3 15s. On the sides of the trios, we're going to pick up 3 11s. Then go from the first hole to the third hole of the round trio. On the other side, same deal. Go from the first hole to the third hole. So you should end up crisscrossing just like we did before, that your needle, one needle is going to be on the left side and one needle is going to be on the right side. After the round trio bead, pick up a 15L, sew through the crystal, the 11L, and give a nice tight pull. You can, if you want to, while you have that needle in your hand, also sew through our round duo here. Sew through those 3 15-O's along the side. Again, you can cheat and just sew through the round duo if you want, if you have a color that's really close to your thread. Once you're through that 15-O, the needle is going to go through that round duo on the bottom hole that's closest to our button in the direction that we're going. The needle then goes through the the 11O and out the crystal and waits for its other counterpart on the other side. On the other side, again, I'm out my round trio bead. On goes a 15. The 15 then, after I put it on, we sew through the crystal and the 11O. And we're going to do the opposite of what we just did. You want to make sure also that your thread and needle don't get mixed into the beads right there. When you give a nice little tight pull, that's going to pop those crystals or those seed beads right on the top there. So I'm off to the side here. I'm going to go through my round duo bead and trace back through. The other thing this does is really tightens up the center row. It's a nice sturdy bracelet because of that. Go through all of your 15s along the sides. Crisscross through the round trio, or the round duo rather, I'm sorry. Come out the 11, out the crystal, and then we get to put on another one of our round trios. Again, to put on the round trio, we go ahead and add a 15 to the right needle, a 15 to the left needle, and we're going to crisscross through one of the outermost holes of one of the round trios. So one needle through from left to right, one from right to left, and you're going to come out before the 15O. When you're on the sides then, go ahead and pick up 3 of your 11Os to decorate the sides of the trios, and go to the last hole of the round trio. So 3 go on the right side, 3 go on the left. And then as we come out the round trio, we're simply going to put on a 15O. Get my thread untangled here. We're going to put a 15O on. And then we're going to sew back down along the project till we get ready to add in our next round trio bead. And the round trios have that nice kind of matte finish to go against all the shine and shimmer that we have going on. You can see as you add in here, you're going to add the round trio, and then we're going to come back and add some side crystals and some seed beads catching the outer side of our round duo on the baseline. So go ahead and add all your round trios in here, decorating them on the sides with those seed beads. Once we're at the end here, we get the opportunity to actually go ahead and reinforce the clasp. So to reinforce the clasp, my thread and needles are coming out right after my 11O seed beads. And I'm going to take one of my strands here, go through the round trio, just as if I would be getting ready to put on my next bead. Go through those 15Os on the sides here. Once I'm through the 15 O's on the sides, if you want, you can go right up to the seed beads, right up to those 3 11 O's, through your clasp and out the first 11 O, back down the opposite side here, through your seed beads, down the sides of the cup button, and down those 11 O's as well. Kind of flipping that back over. That brings the thread that was on the right-hand side kind of right down there along the side. And all I'm going to do now is bring my thread and needle down those 15 O's right along the side. As I come along the side then, I'm going to go through the 15 O's, down through the 11 O's, and out my crystal bead. So my thread on the right is now out my crystal. Thread on the left-hand side here, I'm going to go through the 11 O and out my crystal. Once I'm out the crystal, we get the opportunity now to decorate our sides. So to decorate the sides, we're using 11 O's and 15 O's. After each crystal, when you're coming out of it, we're going to use 2 of our 11 O's and 1 15 O. Go through the outer hole of the round duo bead. And on the opposite side of the round duo, on goes a 15 and 2 11s. So the opposite. And through your crystal. I'm also at the same time going to go through the 11 O seed bead. Go through the first of your 3 15 O seed beads. And come out right between that first and second bead. On the left-hand side, just to kind of refresh, we're going to add 2 of our 11s, 1 15 through the trio bead, a 15, 2 11s, and back through our crystal and our 11 O on this left-hand side here. That's going to decorate the sides here of that round duo bead. And you can see it a lot here when I use the gold along that mat here. Once you're through that 11 O, you want to go through the 15 O on the side and out. When you're out that first 15 O, here's where we get to add our little crystal kind of decorations along the side. To do so, add 1 15, 1 of your Potomac crystal rondelles, and 1 15. Skip over that middle 15 O and go to the second or the third 15 O in line. And so through that. That's going to pop that crystal right along that outer edge. And I want to pull it down to make sure that those seed beads go right there to the sides of it. After I'm through there, I'm going to sew through my 11 and my crystal, making sure that thread stays between. And then when I'm through the crystal, then we go back into the 2 11s and 1 15 and through the round duo. On the opposite side of the round duo, 1 15, 2 11s, through the crystal, the 11 O seed bead, through the 15 O seed bead there, next to it, so we're coming down the sides. And the reason that I didn't come down the sides originally was because I still wanted those 15 O's to look like they were cupping the round duos. So that's why when we did come through the first time, we didn't go straight down the sides like we're doing now. Grab a 15, a crystal, and a 15. Go through the third 15 in line, right there on the outer edge. Pull it nice and tight to get that crystal to sit on the side. Go through the 11 then after, through the crystal, and continue on. So you can see I'm doing it on the right-hand side there. And then we're going to go ahead and pop it in on the left-hand side as well to get those little crystals hanging out the sides, as well as making our round duo beads stick out a little bit more. Once you're done going through the end here and getting all of your design on, and you can see how cool looking it is. I really like this project, and I like that it uses all of our exclusives, including our cup buttons, so that's kind of fun as well. When I get to the end, just like if I would be kind of going out and doing another row back, all I'm going to do is take this opportunity to reinforce this loop one time. My thread on the right-hand side here is longer, because I did have to add some thread. I oftentimes don't use the thread length long enough that you are going to be able to use, because that way it fits a little bit better in the video camera when you're looking at it. But what I'm going to do is go up through, reinforcing that loop. And as I reinforce the loop, then I'll come down the other side and tie off on that other side. So I'm going just right through the loop. And that's going to put 3 strands through that loop, which is a nice good amount because the loop is going to get a fair amount of tension. I should also mention that depending on your wrist size, this is bigger than my wrist size. It's that 7.25 inch wrist that this bracelet is going to fit. If you do need it to be a little bit longer, I was left with 2 of my crystals on my 6-inch strand. So if you do need it to be a little bit longer, you may want to invest in 2 of those strands. And coming down the other side here then, you go through all those seed beads. And then I'm going to come straight down from my 11-0 here, right at the end. Come straight down those 15 O's, right until I get to right where my thread is. Now the thread options as far as ending the thread, that's up to you. Some people like to weave it back in. I usually just tie a knot and burn it, especially when I have 2 strands like this. It makes it really easy. I'm just going to remove the needles from the ends of my thread and tie a square knot. Right over left, left over right, and then I usually do 1 more additional knot. A lot of times you can also tuck this to the back of the project, so I'll flip the project over and kind of pull the knot towards the back, so that way it's hidden. This bracelet also is almost reversible when you look at one side to the other. One has a lot more seed beads going on than the other side here. And by the time this is published, it'll have a name. I couldn't think of a name for it, but I wanted to make sure to do this video for you guys to get it out there. So I did put on our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making, put on there to give me a name. So by the time you guys view this, it will have a name. But that's going to give you the opportunity then to go in and just burn down your thread ends. Like I said, if you're a gluer and you want to glue, you can do that as well. I'm going to burn down those thread ends with my thread burner. And then all I do with those little thread knobs is burn them down. So I leave a little bit on, that way I can burn them down. When I burn them down, that almost creates a stop on the beads, so that way the knot will not come apart. If you have any other little thread ends here, you can burn those down as well, or actually kind of cut those down a little bit more. That's kind of up to you. And I'll cut that thread off, burn it down just the tiniest of little bits. And that'll actually end the whole project. Again, if you like the look of this project, you want to learn more, you need any of the materials, you can visit us at PotomacBeads.com. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel to get regular updates like fun new products like our round trio beads and our round duo beads, exclusive things that we do, updates from us as well as tutorials like this that show you how to use all the wonderful beads that we carry and that we sell. As always, you can purchase from me at PotomacBeads.com as well. If you need the list, you can go back to the beginning of the video, to the little drop down, or below the video to the description and kind of that show more button. Click down on the show more button and that will give you the links to all the products as well. Also, again, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also join us on Facebook. And on Facebook, we post there. We also have a beading group on Facebook for beading and jewelry making. And check that out. It's a great community of people that love to make things and really have creative spirits. Also are super helpful if you have any questions, design ideas, in this case, a name idea. You can do that as well. So this bracelet, this nameless bracelet, I'll show you kind of what it looks like on my wrist. And we have the fun 2 different tones to really give you an idea of the difference that color makes. So it has much more of a darker look here versus the brighter purple. And those different looks, it's just kind of another thing that color can show, the different looks and the different ways that the beads look, or the bracelets look. You can also switch out the round trios if you want for some faceted round trios if you want a little more bling. As always, everybody, thanks for watching and have fun creating with our Potomac Bead Company exclusive round duos, round trios, Potomac crystals, and our cup buttons.